Oh, I'm excited to bring you guys today's video. So this is my Miaofeng race 2025. It is a hill climb race, about 19.4 kilometers long, 825 meters elevation gain, and this is a really popular self-challenge climb in China. It was used in the tour of Beijing when that used to be held here, and has this mystique around this mountain because it's one of the biggest climbs in Beijing. So I'm just gonna play through the race video here and kind of walk you guys through some of the key elements of the race and compare that with some of my power data. For reference, I did this climb back in May in 62 minutes, and I've only gained strength since then. I think my FTP back then was like 240, and after this race it was like 270, which I suspected it had gone up. About a week prior to this race, I went and did a final recon of the route itself, and I set a PR. I was under 60 minutes. So yeah, we got started here, and wasn't too sure how fast we were going to start off at. Was it going to kick off from the gun or not? So the profile of this race actually has about a 7 kilometer, 6.8 kilometer, fairly flat beginning. I think it's maybe at max like a 3% gradient that we end up kind of seeing. Yeah, 3-4% till you hit kilometer like 6.5, and then it really kicks off. So the goal at the beginning here was to save as much energy as possible. I've done this with my buddies a few times, and every time that's my strategy is to draft as much as I can at the very beginning and to hide from the wind, let everyone else do the pulling. But we didn't start off as fast as I expected. I think everyone was trying to conserve as much energy as possible before the climb really kicked off at that point. You can see we're only doing 34 kilometers per hour, and I think the highest we got up to is about 41 kilometers per hour, which these guys are all really strong. We could be pulling much faster than that, but everyone's just trying to save some energy, get the nerves out of the way, and get to the base of the climb. The weather for the day was absolutely perfect. We had a scorcher of a summer here in Beijing, but it finally started to cool off a bit for this race, and we avoided the rain that had developed a few days prior. So that let me be able to wear this killer skin suit from Lameda. And I've done a video talking about a two-piece kit that I had from them, but they sent me this one specifically for the race, which I found really great. It just stuck to my body really well, made me feel really aero. Whether or not I was any more aero, I'd have to actually do some testing to really find out, but it was a really good support for the race. I had a strategy going into the race, and I knew that I needed to save energy on the flat and then only put out so much power on certain percent grades throughout the climb, and to ride really within myself and within my capabilities. And you can see here, I keep kind of jumping up to 300, 400 watts, and sustaining that's going to be a problem. But we started breaking up a little bit in some of these corners, and I didn't want to lose contact with that front group. So finally around here, we kind of start settling down a little bit. The pace kind of comes down, and everyone's communicating really well when they want to be let back in. So just trying to keep the wheels, and once you have a wheel, you kind of want to fight to hold it. Otherwise, you end up back out in the wind again. So you'll see we're going to start catching a few people, and that's from the men's elite. So I'm racing in the masters group, over 35 years old. And so the men's elite group, the younger group, they're going to be 5 minutes ahead of us, and we're going to end up catching some people along the way. So everyone with the blue are in the masters in my group, and then I believe it was yellow is the elite group. Yeah, so we're starting to catch some of the men's elites with the yellow bib numbers there. And right after this kind of corner here, we end up um, kicking off right about here is where the gradient starts going up. So we start getting that 4 to 5 to 6%, and this is where the power really starts kicking in. So I had mentally and through Best Bike Split calculated out that I could do like 290 on 290 300 on some of the really steep stuff, but grades like this I was supposed to be keeping myself around 270 watts, and you're going to see that that was not the case. I think everyone was basically the same mindset of stick with that front group and don't get dropped. But that was really the wrong way to go for a lot of people, I think. I think some people started blowing up a little bit, and that's where it started to become real kind of difficult to choose which wheel to be on, because if you're on someone's wheel and all of a sudden they can't keep holding that pace, you could be dropped back, and you're going to have to put in a much larger effort to catch back on to the group and not actually fully get dropped. And that starts happening a little bit here. We start to lose people little by little. Yeah, and so starting right here, had to start putting in pretty big effort to keep up with this pace. And at some point I was going to have to make the decision of how far can I keep doing this pace, and when should I let that front group go, because they're going to do this pace all the way up, and it's not something that I'm capable of doing all the way up. I mean, if we look at my intervals data, you can see my W prime balance here. So this is a calculation of how much energy you have based on how much you're doing wattage wise over your FTP. And my tank right now is like 3/4 of full, because I've been just really hammering it at the beginning of this climb in order to stick with the entire group. There's been a couple people dropping here and there. It was really hard to see who behind me was dropping and how much of the group was still left behind. But there's a fairly good amount of riders up in front of me, maybe like 30, 40 riders. So I knew I didn't want to lose contact with that many riders this early, even though I'm more of a time trialist and kind of figured I could maybe overtake people later on. I just really didn't want to lose contact quite yet. But as you can see, I'm starting to look down at my power and start questioning my life decision here to pull as hard as I'm pulling. This is all VO2 max for me. And right about here was where I had to make a decision of, can I close this down or can I not close it down? And at this point right here, I knew that front group was gone, and I most likely wouldn't see the majority of them again on this entire climb, which was a shame, because right here after this corner you start getting a little bit steeper slopes for the next about 2.5 to 3K, and it was through there that I wanted to stick with everyone past that like 13K mark. And I think this race, the KOM isn't actually set at basically who wins the race. It's a mountaintop finish. They set it after all this really steep stuff, which is at like 13, 14K in. So I wasn't going to get KOM, but I wanted to be able to stick with that front group through there, because I figured through that steep stuff is when a lot of people would drop. And if I could stick with that front group, it'd give me a really good time. But at this point, we're starting to splinter into some smaller packs. That's one of the hard things when doing these types of races, is trying to figure out where your limit is, and to make sure not to ride everyone else's race, but to just ride your race while trying to get a draft. And that was the hard thing, was picking which person, which group can I actually get a little bit of a benefit of a draft from. And I'm happy to take turns with people, but I told myself going into this I was not going to pull everyone else up. I needed people to work with me. Um, and then I would do as much of my share of the work as I possibly could based on how I was feeling. I think that's 100 meter to go till the KOM point for this race. This guy ahead is really working hard to try to hang on to that wheel, but he already looked like he was pretty cooked. So it's got to be a pretty big effort to hang on to that wheel. And I don't think that's going to be sustainable for him. Yeah, and there he had to kind of give up on that. Like right here, I had to actively remind myself, oh, take the left side. You can take the left side. There's not going to be a car coming down at you. And unfortunately, no heart rate data for this race. My heart rate monitor broke a little ways back, and I haven't received the replacement yet, but pretty soon I'll have the replacement. And as it turns out, I should have jumped onto the guy who was going a little bit faster, his wheel, earlier, because then I had to close down this gap with quite a bit more power to get back onto his wheel. So it's all those little decisions that can lead to costly energy mistakes. And that one cost me a little bit, especially right before coming to this village. Normally when going up, the village is one of the worst parts because it gets really narrow, and there's a lot of cars. So it's very different today to race through it and have the whole road to yourself. And the guy who was towing behind me here came on through on that little bit of a dip of a downhill, so I was able to take a little bit of a reprieve being on his wheel for a little bit. We're coming into the village now. This is the part where there's usually cars parked everywhere and cars backing into the middle of the street to do a U-turn and all sorts of shenanigans that you have to be careful of. So that messes up your time going up unless you go really early in the morning. And this narrow stretch here is always really difficult with the tour buses that go all the way to the top. Because I knew at this point if I didn't stick onto his wheel and he's waving me through, and I'm just like, oh man, I don't know if I can get up there. I'm doing everything I can at the moment to just try to stick on, let alone see if I can even catch back up to him and pass him, which I eventually was able to, but he just kept a good pace there. I just couldn't come through on that corner, and he ends up in front again. And finally at this point I was like, okay, I think I'm recovered enough to come do a pull on through and see if I can give everything I can give without putting myself too deep. I mean, we still have about 3.5K to go, and everything after the village also starts ramping up a little bit steep. So you're going to have 5 to 9% grades, 12-10% there. I figured I'd do what I could, give him a pull, and hopefully have him come through pretty soon and give me a little bit of a reprieve as well. I was trying to chase down this group in front so that I could get a little bit of a break. And that's it right there. I decided, nope, my breathing is too hard. I need to pull off the power a little bit and have him come through if he's able to come through. And just make sure that I can power back up and stick onto his wheel for a little bit. I could kind of tell that maybe he needed me to pull again. he is fatiguing a bit. So, all right, 2K to go to the top. This poor guy here, he must have had a mechanical, and it's either wait for the broom wagon or walk the rest of the 2K, and he decided to walk it because we still have the women's group behind us, and then a certain amount of time after them is a broom wagon, so he'd be standing there waiting for quite a bit. That's it for the water. Figured I'd squeeze out all the remaining weight. Not that there was that much left, but I didn't have it in me to try drinking any of it anymore anyway. So we got about 1.5K, and from here it's just everything you have left, all on the table. My plan here is that if I could come to the final corner with the guy in front of me and the guy who's behind me, that if I kicked it off a little bit before the final corner, because you can't actually see the finish line until you come around the last bend, which is about 100 meters to go. I do have a pretty good 5 to 15 second sprint. Whether or not I have any of that available to me at this point in the race, I don't know at this point if I do, but I knew that if I could kick it off right before that corner, before anyone sees the finish line, maybe that would give me an advantage to be able to beat them to the finish line. So that's what's going through my mind right now, is to try to catch the guy in the orange jersey here in front of me and see if I can try to come to that final corner with these guys. 1K to go. Start pushing it a little bit here to catch up to him. But man, I can tell you at this point I'm suffering. And here I knew I was in a bit of trouble, that all these guys are coming through and past me, which can be okay if I'm able to hang on to their wheel, because I can come from behind them, and get a bit of a pull. But having to put in another effort here to catch back up to the wheel when they're accelerating like this, yeah, I give a little shake of the head there. I was like, nope, that's it. I can't do it. I can't keep up with them. I have to let them go. I was pretty disappointed at that point. So I really thought I was going to come to the line with the guy that I was alternating pulls with. That was my hope there. Yeah, kind of just like Remco. Once you start looking behind, you know you're in trouble. I was looking behind there, and even this guy, I see him come through. I have that moment of hope of okay, I can grab his wheel. I can at least try to come to the line with him. Yeah, right here. I looked down at the power. I was like, nope, I've got nothing left. There's no one behind me for one, to help me, and for two, I don't need to go any harder than what I'm going, because I knew at this point I couldn't catch him. This is, I think, the last corner that I was talking about. Yeah, and then we're going to see the finish line. So give it everything I can, but at this point, no one was behind me. It was close enough to catch me, and that was it. So yeah, I was able to do this in 56:30, I believe was my official time, and came was it 33rd place overall in my category. Really good race. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, so then we got to the top and had to give the time chip back. And one of the strange things about being the only foreigner at the race, and that my wife is Chinese, we just kind of stand out a bit. And so one of the media people for the Mexico Sports Bureau that held the race came and followed me around and ended up interviewing me, and I'll play that interview for you guys here.
Seriously, for about a year and a half, 2 years, like serious training. So I've been cycling ever since I was a little kid, but really only started it for sport about a year and a half, 2 years ago. First, just to lose weight. I was 86 kilo, and now I'm like 64, 65 kilo. So it was mostly to lose weight, and then it's just become part of our life. It's one of the reasons why we moved to China, live a little bit more simple, and have more time to go on the bike and cycle the beautiful mountains. This is my fourth time. First race. Yeah, first race. I haven't looked at my official time yet, but I know I was faster than my personal best, so I know I set a PR. Well, I think it's one of the hardest mountains I've done. Out of my personal experience, you know, it's like a 9 or 10. Yeah, the scale will go up because I hope to do even bigger and harder mountains, yeah. I've done Jitai, the loop around like 150K, 180K loop, yeah. I like Miaofeng. Right, yeah, I think especially as a foreigner, it wasn't very smooth with registration because I have to use passport, not the official Chinese ID, which made it a little hard. They were able to accommodate me, which was great. Yeah, so my bike is a titanium frame. It's from 7 Cycles, made in Boston, USA. It's a little heavy. It's like 9.5 kilos, so maybe not the best for going up mountains, but it's really comfortable bike to race with and to ride for long distance. Yeah, so I mean, I've had this bike now for about 4 years. I didn't really know what I was going to do or be a rider when I first started. I didn't know if I wanted to do gravel, long distance. I didn't think I'd ever climb mountains because I was 86 kilo, a little heavy. But now in the future, I'm looking to maybe get a slightly lighter bike so I can go up the mountain faster.
Yeah, so that was really funny. I guess I should have expected that, but I was, you're so focused on racing, you're not thinking about, the fact that things like this are going to happen or that I'm going to be the only foreigner in it, you stand out. I mean, I stand out in China as it is when I've gotten so comfortable with where I live, people know me on the streets here, so I don't get stared at that much anymore compared to when I first moved here. Everyone stared at me and everyone was trying to say hi to me, and that's much more reduced now. I think people have gotten used to me here locally, at least within the neighborhood where I am, the South Chu that I'm in now. But I forget that when I go to events like this, I might be standing out a little bit. Yeah, and also just big thanks to Lameda for sending me the skin suit. I'm going to have a whole separate video about that skin suit because it's the first time I ever used a skin suit. First time wearing a skin suit was that race. I didn't even get a chance to wear it in training beforehand, so it was really a new experience, and I've got some thoughts around that skin suit in particular and skin suits in general, and how they fit, because I was sent 2 different sizes from Lameda, so I have some interesting kind of feedback on how those 2 fit for different body styles and shapes. So hang on for that video. I'll get that out pretty soon here as well. But we've got a pretty big race calendar coming up next year. This was a first race in China, and there's a lot more to come. I was going to go into a transition period after this and start base training for next year. But we've had kind of a sneaky race come up on our calendar for my wife and I in December that we weren't expecting. But it actually really, the result of that race will determine how some of our race calendar next year looks. So went back and I'm in another build phase right now to prepare for that race. It's going to be a really, really challenging race, but I'm really looking forward to it. And can't wait to show you guys some insights on the training I did between May to this race in September, of how I was able to drop from 62 minutes down to around 56 and a half minutes. Just in those couple months, what training I did in order to make that happen, and then what training I'm doing now for this next event, because it's a very different event. This was a hill climb max out effort sprint for under an hour, and the next race is completely different animal. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching, guys. If you want to see more of these, you guys can like, follow, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. I also do a lot of training videos on some wushu, so you can follow me over there under the same handle as Billy. So catch you guys in the next one. Peace.